Red Horse. I'm Sam Borchardt.
And I'm Kung Young Kim.
And today we're talking about Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, the second greatest comedy ever made. What a film, right, King?
Yes, what a classic.
It's a classic. I believe that you have a very special affinity and a story or two with this film, don't you?
Yeah, no. Back when I was a wee lad, this movie was how I learned English. And I would watch this movie on repeat for days because I was so enthralled with Jar Jar that I couldn't get enough of his voice. So that
for days.
Yeah, for days. And I can attribute my English proficiency with Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And I just have to thank Jar Jar from the bottom of my heart for doing me this service.
So how long did it take for you to... did you think that American English was just like Jar Jar Binks English mixed in with Anakin Skywalker, child Anakin's awful voice? Or is that how you learned it? You thought we all sounded like Jar Jar Binks, or that was how English was spoken, or...
the first time went into school, I was a little bit surprised because no one was talking like Jar Jar. But
none of that.
No. Obviously, I think I had enough self-awareness to know that it was a movie and that not everyone talked like a weird space
strange
frog.
Water alien frogman.
Yep. Yeah. But no, how I learned English was just by watching this movie just on repeat. It's amazing. Just when I think about it now, it's ridiculous, but it worked. So
I know there's always been a real life trope put into film and movie about especially East Asian immigrants learning English through watching American television or commercials. Right. Wasn't it Jackie Chan or something that learned English by watching McDonald's commercials or something? I think I had read that at some point.
I don't know,
years ago.
But that wouldn't really surprise me.
So you're the actual living proof of it, which is
yeah.
How many times do you think you've actually seen this movie? Not just start to finish, but just sat down and watched chunks of it, or used it to memorize lines in English.
Some of the most vivid memories I have from when I was little was me inserting the VHS into back then, if you had had a rewind VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Some of the most, because we had a VHS tape rewinder that was a red sports car. And some of my most vivid memories from back then was me taking the videotape and shoving it into that red sports car. So I'm imagining it wasn't just a few times. It was a lot.
That's because you have definitely lost that now with film today, especially digital media. The tactile response of pulling out that VHS, blowing the dust off of it, pulling it out of that cardboard box that's has something stuck to it.
Oh yeah,
pushing it into there. We had this VHS player that would always eat films and stuff would get stuck in there. And the number of times I remember using butter knives to try to pry these VHS tapes out of the VHS player is just it's wonderful memories like that. And it's a damn shame that such great memories like that are linked to a film.
Kids won't know what that means anymore.
It's true, they won't. How the whole floppy drive save button, how kids are what's that mean? Or when someone says pick up the phone, or what's it, hang up, they're what the hell does that mean?
Yeah.
It's that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But it does suck, like I was saying, that you had those memories attributed with Star Wars The Phantom Menace.
Hey, don't worry. On top of watching the prequels, I did watch a lot of the originals, the original 3 as well. So.
Oh, okay, thank God. The actual, the better ones. Because, we're going to have to try our best to not become Plinkett here. Because this has obviously already been done. I feel like that is important enough to say that we're just talking about this as two schmucks. Which is great in its own way. Yes. But, I feel like we should put up a spoiler warning right about here. Right. I mean... this is some important content. It sets up a great deal of a great number of things throughout the rest of the trilogy and the prequels, and now the re-sequels, or whatever we're calling them now. Mm-hmm. So, of course, a spoiler warning from this point for a lot of major plot spoilers and things like that. Is there anything you want to say before we move behind the spoiler veil, there, Kay?
Nope. Let's get it. Let's get into it.
Let's go. All right. So this movie is about. I honestly don't know. There are no main characters, and it's so hard. It's so hard, Kang. Go ahead, help me out.
Taxation is in the galaxy.
Yes.
Galaxy is in turmoil. The Republic, a lot of people are unhappy about Republic taxes, apparently, according to the title crawl.
Taxation without representation, of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And apparently, the Trade Federation is invading Naboo because reasons, and people are obviously unhappy about that.
Yeah, they I believe are setting up a blockade, blocking out supply routes and trade from getting to Naboo. I'm assuming as a form of protest. I actually don't really know what their like long-term plan with that was going to be, other than just to be like, you should take the Trade Federation seriously, and to prove that you should take it seriously, we're going to make an completely legal military action on a sovereign state, or a sovereign planet, as it were, in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a good lead-in to what I think is the first very important death in the movie, to keep with the trend of our lovely podcast here, and that is the death of representative self-governing democracy in the entire galaxy at the hands of the Galactic Republic and Qui-Gon Jinn.
Okay.
Yeah,
can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, of course I can. I think that's a good small starting point, a good leading off point for us there. But so we are told that there is a blockade here, and then the ambassadors, who are two armed assassins, essentially, are being sent to, I'm using finger quotes that the audience can't see, negotiate here. Mm-hmm. And they talk to the poor viceroy, who in his great acting, that sounds like a Neil Breen film, says, of course, our blockade that is totally legal will gladly accept the presence of the ambassadors. Mm-hmm. And then the ambassadors show up, and as soon as everyone realizes that they are two warriors, naturally, everyone freaks out. Now, Darth Sidious's plan notwithstanding, I think it's a bit odd and probably not becoming of a galactic democratic republic, representative democracy no less, to send warrior monks around who quite literally wave their arms and change people's minds against their will into certain things, and also to respond to taxation concerns by sending armed warriors. What are your thoughts on this totally apolitical point that I have bothered to make?
Well, I mean, obviously, you're right. Sending a armed response, a like very deadly response to a I guess this could be considered like a local issue if you look at like the grand scheme of things. Like Naboo is probably like a small part of the Galactic Republic, but on the other hand, what the Trade Federation was also doing doesn't quite seem like that it's completely legal, as they keep saying that it is.
As they go out of their way to tell us it is certainly legal.
Like they have parked battleships around this planet
with shields up and like weapons out.
Shields up, and as Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan talk about in this opening sequence, they've got an entire invasion army stacked in their battleships ready to go. So I feel like in this situation, no one's really in the right here. We're all losers in this, universe.
And that's kind of the problem. Later on in the film, I think it's Princess, Queen Amidala. Ooh, that was hard. Queen Amidala says that in her opinion, the Galactic Senate is just completely dysfunctional. And I'm inclined to agree, because evidently its member states just kind of fuck off and start blockading other planets. And also, the Galactic Senate's response to taxation concerns is just to literally escalate an armed conflict.
Yeah.
I know that George Lucas isn't exactly the most politically savvy individual to ever make a film, which is neither here nor there. But that seems a bit much to have Qui-Gon Jinn specifically kind of go around and just really make things worse, if you ask me, personally. I feel like an actual envoy, they would have been poised to like get more results out of this. Maybe an actual step toward peace if they really wanted to. But that was really not the case.
But what if they had sent like actual ambassadors or some sort of like representative from the Republic? What would stop the Trade Federation from just killing them and being like, oops, they never arrived?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, Sidious doesn't tell them to kill them until he realizes that they are Jedi Knights, and that's actually when the Viceroy loses his shit. He's just like, oh my god, the droid said they're Jedi Knights? I'm gonna panic and call the Sith Lord. So I feel like the worst thing that could have happened if they had just sent actual envoys is, God forbid, there would have been an actual taxation discussion, and we would have not ever had Anakin Skywalker become Darth Vader. Thinking more longitudinally there, of course.
Right. But was there actually a taxation issue? We don't know.
We don't know. Told there is one. We have this title crawl that sets up like at least 50 years worth of political machination. And then like we have, do you know the actor's name that played the Chancellor before Palpatine was nominated?
No, I don't know.
He's like in like a million different things. He's like a really well-known actor, and they give him like a 6-second role where like he just shows up to be an awful, disabled by bureaucrats, useless leader, and then Sheev Palpatine comes in. And then he gets... I must be frank. We need to make a strong leader. Like
he's only in the movie to be impeached.
Yeah, exactly. He's there to be impeached. Like he's not a good leader, and I feel like it really gives away that whole really thin plot. Gives away at just how bad the acting in this film is. Mm-hmm. Like, we mentioned that we lead off with the Viceroy going, of course we will welcome you to our completely legal blockade. But, like, I forget the actor's name that plays Palpatine, but he also really sucks in this movie. And he's just, like, or I can't tell, though, if it's bad acting or if it is just bad dialogue. But, like, his character is just like, we need to elect a, like, leaning in, strong leader.
Well, everyone's super monotone in this movie if you look at it. Like, Natalie Portman.
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson, who is known to be, like, a loud, shouting, very, like, strong character. Jules just reduced to just, like... Yeah, like, he's reduced to a character who just mumbles a couple things and then just stares into the distance. Yeah,
like... his entire role in this film is to say that a kid is too old and then just kind of look off into the distance.
Yep. And, like, Natalie Portman delivers every line with this, like, deadpan look on her face that has no emotion conveyed.
Yeah. I mean, it is always a bad, like, a bad movie trope, at least I think, to have two characters who are meant to be the same person, or, like, the concept of, like, a body double. Mm-hmm. Kind of like how Tommy Wiseau in his new show, I think, plays two characters, and I know that there's a new Neil Breen film coming out where he plays two characters. That is just an awful idea, because it inevitably makes the actor end up doing things that are bad to try to differentiate the two characters. How Natalie Portman's voice only ever moves when she is in full handmaiden I'm 13 hitting on a 9-year-old mode.
Yep.
And then Queen Amidala is like the whole movie. I actually joked with myself that I was going to do this episode in like the Natalie Portman Queen monotone. Thank you, Chancellor, for your concern. This is an episode of Beating a Dead Horse where we will discuss the attack on the Wookiees or whatever, and it's just really bad.
I am Samuel Borchardt. This is my podcast.
Welcome to another episode. It's just it's terrible. You can't also tell if she's ever actually concerned. Like there's an entire phase of the movie where they're attempting to convince her that there is like some sort of genocidal like mass murder going on Naboo. Well, and her entire response is, my people are dying.
There's no like elevation of emotion anywhere in the movie. Like everyone is just so disinterested with whatever is going around with them. Like around them.
Like when Qui-Gon discovers that Anakin was a virgin birth, and he just kind of goes, one of those. And just
midichlorians.
The midichlorians. And he just like nods at what's her name, Shmi. He literally, why do I know all these names? He like literally just kind of goes, "Who was the father?" And she goes, "There was no father." And he just, instead of going like bum bum bum, like Qui-Gon just goes, one of the no father births. I've heard of these.
Yep. Yeah, and like what we just when Shmi, like, there was like the scene, like I'm sure you saw it, where like Anakin's leaving Shmi, and like you like hear this like swelling of like very intense and like dramatic music happening in the background. But like you don't feel anything because Shmi is just looking at Anakin, and it's like, just go, just leave. Just leave. Forget about me. And Anakin's
leave
I can't do it, Mom. Like,
I am a plot device. Leave your mother.
And
like, as an individual without me.
You just hear this like very like this like beautiful like soundtrack by John Williams in the background, but like everything that's happening on the screen, it just doesn't match what's happening with the music.
Yeah, man. John Williams tried his best. He really did. I mean, this is the episode that has like the greatest fight scene music of all from his score, and they're fighting a character who has no lines. Mm-hmm. Like they're fighting the demon from Insidious or whatever that movie is, who has no lines in the entire film.
He has a couple lines.
Does he? What does he say again? That's right. You know all the words. Tell me what he says, King.
He says, "What's it like? Oh, at last we'll be able to fight the Jedi. At last we'll be able to have revenge," or something like that.
He just says like something like a 5-year-old could come up with. That's it. And then they fight the demon guy, and then he's there to make a grim expression when he gets cut in half.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hey, the kick flips were nice though. Those were pretty good. That fight scene itself was pretty great.
He gets cut in half, but he doesn't die.
Hey, spoilers! Oh wait, we're past the spoilers. Never mind.
We're past spoilers.
That's like super out there animated series now, content. We're going full canon now.
Well, I guess this is like a double spoiler if like people don't want to know what happens in the later films. But wait, have you seen Solo?
I have actually not seen Solo.
Oh, do you care? What happens in the end credits? Okay,
it's been spoiled a ton, I think, to me already. So you go right ahead.
Yeah, no. Darth Maul is alive, and you see him in Solo.
I had no idea you saw him in Solo. That's hilarious.
Yep.
Please tell me he has like little chicken robot legs or something.
Well, I don't know if you see his like robot.
Oh, is it like a end credits reveal where they just show his face and his horns, and the audience goes, ah!
And they show the he ignites his dual lightsaber in the hologram just to show that he's Darth Maul, but he is not dead. After getting chopped off or like chopped in half, he is not dead. So we can't include him in our who should have died.
So my question though, I guess that's more of a question about Solo then, would be why they wouldn't kill him off and then would show that in like a later sequel. I don't know. That is far outside of the bounds of here, because within the bounds of this film, I think we're expected to believe that Darth Maul is dead.
Yes.
I mean, they turn his lower body to a ragdoll and then he falls down a giant like empty chasm shaft that, to be frank, he has no business surviving. Doesn't he like bounce off the side or something when he falls too? I think he does.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, we should probably double back to
our
plot synopsis. So, we established that representative democracy is dying because the Galactic Republic is full of idiots and warmongers. People that really like taxes, apparently. Mm-hmm. However, the next tragedy that befalls us, the viewer, the next tragedy that befalls us, is that we are introduced to a frogman named Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, best character.
Because Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi are trying to escape from the droids when their definitely peaceful mission goes awry. Mm-hmm. And Qui-Gon accidentally saves a disgusting Jamaican stereotype frogman, who then is in a life debt with him.
Yes, because he saved his life.
Yeah, because that's what ethnic things do. Exotic creatures. That's definitely what they do.
Right.
They have life debts. So Qui-Gon meets the worst character ever, Jar Jar Binks, who, honestly, we joke about having a spoiler warning, but like, every human being in the world knows who Jar Jar Binks is. Misa Iki Poo. Like, just awful, just garbage. I hate him so much, Kang. Why can't Jar Jar die? We just started on him with he should have died. Do you agree that Jar Jar Binks should have died?
Hey, if Jar Jar died, who would have given Palpatine emergency powers in episode 2?
Hey, beside the fact that Jar Jar Binks is directly responsible for the creation of the Empire, I actually think, similarly to, back when you and I did the episode on this podcast about Captain America Civil War,
right,
and how you and I concluded that the movie would have been better if Tony had killed Bucky, and you and I discovered and decided that would have given the movie much more emotional weight. Do you remember when you and I did that, Ken?
Yeah. Like, we did all those things.
Yeah, we did those things, and we talked about those. I think that was our first episode, actually. I remember fondly our first episode, Kang. It was a good time. Anyway, I think this movie would have had much more tonal and emotional weight if they had given us enough time to like understand Jar Jar Binks, and then if he had died.
Oh, but when would you have killed him?
That's the hardest part, because the movie introduces Jar Jar and then he spends the entire last half of the movie away from all events involving the rest of the characters. I think he's out there on like the battlefield, jungling grenades,
right,
which is super super low key.
Yeah.
But, like, could you imagine if he had been killed by either one of the Viceroy's henchmen or by Darth Maul?
I'm more inclined to have him be killed by one of the fish on the bongo.
Why would that be? Okay.
Just for comedic value. Like, Jar Jar doesn't do anything in the rest of the movie, so he should be taken out in like a similar, very non-consequential way.
Yeah. What if when Qui-Gon delivers the line that there's always a bigger fish, What if it's because they watched Jar Jar get eaten by a fish, and then that fish got eaten by a bigger fish, and then Qui-Gon goes, there's always a bigger fish. Yep. And at that point, the movie could literally proceed exactly as it is now, but without Jar Jar Binks.
He doesn't do anything.
He does it. He steps in poop, and he makes awful jokes that are themselves racial stereotypes.
Yes.
And he just makes me aggravated and gives me a headache for the rest of the film.
Yeah, so when the fish bites... it's called a bongo, right? Yeah. When the fish bites the bongo, it just just instead of like biting the like backside of the bongo, he just like chomps right where Jar Jar is and just takes Jar Jar out of the sub. And then Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan just shrug and being like, well, there goes the indigenous creature we met on this planet. And then the movie goes on.
Now, do you think it would be better if there was like a really visceral death for Jar Jar, or if he was in something and it got swallowed whole and we're just meant to like assume he died?
Well, I don't know how visceral we can get, based on how this is a PG movie.
Was it? Wait, this movie was PG? Seriously?
This movie is a PG movie.
Dude, a guy gets stabbed in the chest.
And cut in half.
Yep. Although, I think it's probably the way that they did the effects that makes it PG, because there is no blood.
Right.
Very convenient how lightsabers cauterize wounds immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They do literally light a guy's body on fire, which is pretty fucked up. And then you could tell when Darth Maul is like cut in half and falling, there's nothing in the pants, that they're just empty pants that the like set designer or like the stunt guy just like threw down a well. Yeah, they're just like, oh, that's his legs. And you're like, that's not his legs. They would have fallen out of the pants. What's wrong with you? Yeah, you're right. So it probably can't be visceral. Maybe perfect. Maybe Jar Jar gets swallowed by something, and then like the OU moment at the end is that Jar Jar is alive and he got out because he was in the fish's poop.
Oh my god.
You see? Now you're thinking, dude, I'm thinking over here. I'm thinking of how to make this episode.
Yeah, and then Jar Jar slowly, he walks out of the water covered in poo, and he says his traditional line, "Icky icky poo."
Yeah.
There it is.
After we meet Jar Jar and he shows us Boss Nass, who makes that. Do you want me to make the sound, or do we not want the sound in the podcast?
It's up to you if you want to do that.
There you go. That'll be fun to edit out later, but that's the sound he makes when he's both happy and upset, it turns out, which is great. So after we meet Boss Nass, I think is his name, we get the longest scene of any film ever, which is our time on Tatooine.
Yes.
Our time on Tatooine tragically split apart only to have awful things occur with like the Senate or whatever. Like, or is that afterward?
No, we get boring desert paired with, space politics, and
because Queen Amidala,
the Trade Federation viceroys talking to a hologram of Lord Sidious.
Yes, so we get space politics for the Trade Federation, where Lord Sidious's plan continues to make absolutely no sense.
Yep.
Spoiler: Darth Sidious is Sheev Palpatine.
Yep.
In case you didn't know that, it's really I know I was just as stunned as everybody by the guy that looks exactly the same in both a hood and not a hood, and who doesn't change his voice between the two characters at any point in the film. I was very stunned that he ends up being the Dark Lord of the Sith. But his plan makes absolutely no sense, which is to blockade his own planet, and then bank on him being such a good senator and the rest of the Senate being so bad that nobody will come to the defense of his planet that he is blockading, so that he can dethrone the current head of the Senate and make himself the head of the Senate in order to make the Senate stop the blockade, thus instituting an intergalactic civil war. Is that about right?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of like how the criticism of the Joker's plan in The Dark Knight is that in order for this to have gone right... Have you heard the theory that the Joker actually does have a superpower, but he doesn't know about it? Have you heard that theory?
No.
There's a theory that the Joker in the Dark Knight universe does actually have a superpower, and his superpower is that he has uncanny timing, which is the only reason that his plan would work. We're at like that level where Sheev Palpatine's power with the Force is not Force lightning. It's not anything like that. It's that his uncanny timing and uncanny understanding of just how people will go through this movie acting in their own self-disinterest to the point where he can institute a civil war is pretty insane.
Yeah.
Am I missing any details there?
Well, while I was watching the movie, I was just really confused because, so he convinces the Trade Federation to blockade Naboo and invade it and take over Naboo, right?
Yes. And fake committing genocide.
Yes. First off, why would the Trade Federation agree to do this? The Trade Federation, they seem like a corporation that is driven by, monetary gain, right? And they want resources. So if Naboo was a planet that was very rich in some sort of resource, that would make sense as to why they would want that planet.
Yeah,
but from what I can see,
like Space Spain,
Yeah, from what I can see, Naboo is abundant in Gungans and water,
yep.
and I can't see anything
and stucco buildings.
Yes, I don't see any resource value in Naboo, so I don't know how Emperor Palpatine convinced the Trade Darth Sidious, just how he convinced the Trade Federation to invade and blockade Naboo in the first place.
Yeah, because it's clear that his plan hinges upon him getting a sympathy vote because it's his home world that's being invaded.
Right.
Such that he can then make his bid for the chancellorship or whatever the title would be.
Yeah.
It's clear that it hinges upon that. And there are a million times throughout the film where you can tell that the various viceroys and people in the Trade Federation are realizing in real time that they're in way over their head.
Yeah.
But at what point, why don't they just be hey, we're gonna stop because we just want there to not be taxes, and now we're literally building an army for apparently no reason.
Yeah.
The part where the viceroy is the quote that gets used in memes all the time now, which is that this is getting out of hand. Now there are 2 of them. There's a million of those where they're oh my god, this guy is a mustache twirling evil man, and we're in league with him now. Are we the baddies? Where they could have just been this was supposed to be about resources and taxes. What are we doing?
Yeah. And another point to make that it kind of goes in hand with how Darth Sidious's plan is so tenuous is that so Darth Sidious instructs the Trade Federation to capture the royalty. He wants them to capture Queen Amidala and all of her royalty, the royalty of Naboo.
And to blackmail them into signing a treaty to...
Yeah, right.
I don't actually remember to do what. What's the treaty supposed to do?
I don't know what the treaty is about. I think just to ratify and legalize the invasion of Naboo.
I don't actually know if we are ever told what's in the treaty. I think it might literally be kept as a MacGuffin the whole time.
Yeah, I'm not sure. But if you remember from the movie, the Queen escapes Naboo, right? But how Palpatine is elected Chancellor, and the opportunity is given by Queen Amidala as she proposes a vote of non-confidence in the current Chancellor.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about that. Because he has to
so why
Sidious
did he
pretends to be upset that she got through, but
why did he make why did he order the Trade Federation to keep the royalty on Naboo and to confine them there if he needed Queen Amidala to be in the Senate to cause that, vote of non-confidence in the current Chancellor?
I think we have found a new plot hole in a Swiss cheese movie of plot holes.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't make any sense.
Either, Palpatine is playing, 5D chess over here
dude's living in 2085, some Revolver Ocelot level quintuple agent stuff.
Right. Or, like you said, he just has impeccable timing, and he, all the pieces just fell into place in his master plan, without him even realizing
his sublime plan. So while he is orchestrating this master plan and playing 12 different sides in order to get it to work, we go to a trip to the desert where Qui-Gon Jinn has to find a part for his ship.
Yep.
And trying to find the part, he finds an awful slave boy named Anakin Skywalker who is 9 years old and really has the hots for some 13-year-old girl that he calls an angel.
Yep.
He happens to be really good at repairing things. He built a droid. God,
and he built a pod racer.
He built a pod. Now this is pod racing. This is pod racing. I'll try spinning. That's a good trick. God, all the jokes are so overdone. Why are we here, King? just to suffer, King.
Yep.
So Anakin is a slave, born to Shmi Skywalker, who does not have a father for Anakin, which is totally glossed over and no one cares in the entire movie.
And Anakin is the result of a virgin birth from Shmi,
Correct.
Which is caused by Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious.
Well, we should mention that you and I know this because we are nerds who are familiar with extended universe type stuff.
Well, isn't this now, like, confirmed? Isn't this, like, canon now?
I believe it's canon, although I don't remember the source because I learned about this by watching Red Letter Media explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe it is canon now that Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious basically
orchestrated his birth.
Didn't they, project their will into the Force? Like, they literally manipulated the Force? Like, they fucked with the concept of life? To make some random woman in a desert planet in the outer systems that is uncontrolled by the Galactic Republic, make her give virgin birth to a slave boy who would specifically be found by one specific Jedi Master during a trade dispute. Man, dude, Plagueis, or Sidious, his plans, dude. He is just so good at this.
Yeah, Darth Sidious and Darth Plagueis launched their Force sperm into the void, and it eventually found its way to Shmi.
And they are very fertile. Apparently, they are quite fertile old men.
And
I'm going to stop thinking about that right now immediately.
And it leads to our good boy Anakin.
Yes, who should have died.
Where should he died?
He should have died in the pod race.
He just dies in the.
Only,
everyone else died in the pod race.
Exactly. He's the only one that survives this particular race, and he's also the only human who's even capable of flying. And he's never won a race before. He's actually never even finished a race before.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he should have died, and then we wouldn't have had the entirety of episodes 4 through 6.
Well, I counted how many deaths were in the pod race. So,
okay.
I think we get so Bulba and Anakin both make it through.
Okay.
And then we have 4 deaths that we see on screen.
That are just horrific.
Yeah. Like 4 fiery deaths of pod racers who have either been crashed into a cliffside or shot by Tusken Raiders.
Or like they bounce across the ground so much that they like disintegrate into metallic mist.
Mm-hmm. And then 2 pod racers are just taken out of commission by like either their pod racer malfunctioning or just not working. But I think I counted maybe like 12 or 14 pod racers in the race. We just don't see what happens to like the rest of the pod racers in the race, but we just don't see him ever again.
I'm assuming that they realize the good decision is to just leave, and they just leave the track.
Oh yeah,
they just ride off into the sunset.
It's like, we're not dying those deaths. That dude went spinning into a cliffside, and I don't want any part of that.
But yeah, I mean, I know the whole midichlorians thing has been done into the ground, and how it's a stupid plot device. It's a stupid concept. It's just stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But like the concept that I keep saying 9. Is he in canon 9 in this movie? How old is he in this movie?
I think he's 9, right? I'm not positive.
Like I'm not positive. I think he's like 9 or 10 or something. But the fact that he has that fucking like when his hose comes out and his one pod is like falling apart, that like fucking magnet thing.
Yeah.
Like, how are these things designed where Sebulba can quite literally throw a wrench into someone else's pod and it like disintegrates on impact, and Anakin the 9-year-old can fully pilot, can like barrel roll, and can use like a magnet grapple thing while not looking at the road to like pull his pod back together.
Yeah. Oh my! And it just in that same scene, just like when his pod
it's like broken apart. Yeah.
Right. And like his the pod where like Anakin is sitting just goes like spinning wildly. I'm like, how is he not dead from G-forces? They
keep talking about that he's human. Like, dude, your brains would have scrambled in your head. Like his pod was like spinning like fucking like 10 RPM, dude. That's like insane.
It's crazy.
And then of course he should have died here. Of course.
He should have, he should have gone up in smoke.
Yes. And then if not here, he should have 1000% died when Qui-Gon's like, stay in that cockpit, and he's like, okay, I'll go get involved with a giant intergalactic like space battle. and then I'll come back inside and I'll just blow open like a reactor from inside, and like somehow me hitting a switch inside of a hangar blows up an entire like nation-sized battleship.
Hey, he tried spinning. It was a good trick.
It was a good trick. It worked.
I
mean, that's the part that I hate him so much, Kang.
Yeah.
Do you agree that he should have died, or do you think that it's more fitting that he isn't dead?
I feel like it would have been like, I want him to die because I hate his character. But if Boy Anakin had died now, then we wouldn't have the beautiful Hayden Christensen in episode 2 and 3 to talk about sand.
Maybe it's coarse and rough and irritating,
right? And
it gets everywhere.
So I feel like
not like you.
Boy Anakin is a necessary evil that we just have
to. Not like here.
You know,
Obi-Wan would be so upset if he saw me doing this, Kang.
Mm-hmm.
If he saw me recording a podcast with you, Obi-Wan would be so upset.
Padme is so soft.
Oh, not like the sand. Sorry, I blacked out there for a second. What are we doing? Oh, we're talking about episode 1. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a moment. So Anakin, I think, should have died as well.
Yes.
It's like that old internet joke, though. You know how people are like, how it should have ended, or like they make a joke about rolling credits as soon as someone dies or they change something in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know that Anakin's death would have quite literally derailed the entirety of this series, no longer just a trilogy or even 2 trilogies anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know. I feel like their attempt at doing the whole midichlorian thing, and even Master Yoda doesn't have 20,000 midichlorians. Like, even that is like just physiologically, this dude should have been dead like 500 times over.
He's just he's got that plot armor.
Yeah, dude, plot armor is so pronounced in this film. It's really ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the actor that plays Anakin, I know he's a central character, kind of, but like, Plinkett has done it to the ground that there are no main characters in this movie. But I feel like they really underdid it with Obi-Wan, who during this entire sand period is just kind of sitting in their ship the whole time.
Yeah, he's
like talking to Qui-Gon by radio, and apparently just getting on really well with like the crew of the ship.
He's sitting in the ship,
doing
trying to fix the hyperdrive,
doing blood analysis.
Yes, doing blood analysis.
Instantaneous blood analysis. I like that if you go back to that clip, if you go back and watch it again, there's like literally just a microscope on the left side, and he just like Ewan McGregor just kind of reaches over, just kind of like twists the knob, and they're like, I've sent you this blood sample. I'm doing analysis with my microscope of the blood sample now. Ooh.
Hey, it's space technology. We can't understand it.
It's far beyond our capabilities, truly.
Right. It's dense.
But yeah, I feel like they really underdid Ewan McGregor. They really underdid Obi-Wan as a character until like the end, where it's like, train him. You're definitely not like 17 years old. You need to train this 9-year-old boy in the ways of the Jedi arts.
If you think about it, Obi-Wan is the voice of reason in this entire movie.
It's true.
As Qui-Gon picks up all these different creatures from all these different planets.
Dude, Qui-Gon is the worst.
And like Obi-Wan is the only voice that's saying, maybe we shouldn't pick up this frogman. And Obi-Wan and like Qui-Gon's like, no, we gotta do it.
No, he's cool. We have a life debt. It's cool. I'm gonna get him to like scrub my floors later. It's gonna be awesome.
Right.
Then Obi-Wan's like, this dude has 20,000 midichlorians, which means he's literally dangerous, like Sith level power, and he's too old for our teachings, and he's like an angry slave boy.
And like Qui-Gon's like, no, we're good. We're good.
Qui-Gon's like, nah, man, dude, the Force brought us here. God told me to do it, so we're gonna take him.
Mm-hmm.
Obi-Wan's like, dude, maybe we shouldn't do that. And then like Qui-Gon just makes so many dumb or bad decisions. Like the man is literally going around like unilaterally representing an entire galactic republic, and he's like triggering a actual civil war instead of a trade war.
Yeah.
He's deliberately disobeying all the orders from the Jedi Council about taking in this kid and about how he should be acting in general. Mm-hmm. Obi-Wan goes out of his way as a character to tell us that Qui-Gon has disobeyed the Council numerous previous times, which is pretty ridiculous. Like, they go as far as to say that Qui-Gon could have been on the Council if he wasn't such a disobedient dick. And this is the guy the Senate sends? This is the guy the Jedi let the Senate send?
And Qui-Gon goes around, cheating in bets and gambling.
Exactly. Literally using his Jedi powers to gamble. At one point, he just casually says that he's the kind of person who maybe killed a Jedi and took a lightsaber from him. Like, he's just like, I like pretending I'm some crazy smuggler dude on Tatooine.
Yeah.
Literally tries to use his mind powers to convince people to accept different currency than what is legal tender in the area. What?
Hey, it's what the Jedi do.
He prevents a guy from getting executed just because he's some frog dork by waving his hand at some other frog dork.
Yep.
Dude, Qui-Gon's the worst. And
Qui-Gon is the will of the Republic.
And the only reason that this will of the Republic gets himself killed is because he didn't bother to look and see where Obi-Wan was when he was fighting the first Sith Lord to have emerged in like 1,000 years or something. How long was it? I don't remember. They said the Sith was extinct. Did they say how long it has been?
I don't think it's canon anymore. I don't know what they like.
Wait, episode 1 isn't canon anymore?
No. Like,
thank God.
Well, because if I remember correctly, like, I don't know if they say it like outright, just in the movie, but like in like the EU sources, I think it's been like pretty long, you know, or like the like Sith have been just they like haven't quite been extinct, but they've just been like dormant for a while, you know, not really doing anything. We're just biding their time.
Okay.
But yeah, like I don't know what the exact, you know, time frame it's been since the last Sith has been like seen or like recorded in like galactic history, you know.
Yeah, but like even so, no matter how long it's obviously been a long enough time that all these grizzled old masters are like, literally, the Sith could not be back. It is impossible. And Qui-Gon's like, I will fight this first Sith by myself, ignoring that my Padawan is either dead or could help. Yeah, like he watches Obi-Wan fall off.
Yeah,
and he's like,
Obi-Wan falls off a platform,
off like a 7-story platform, and Qui-Gon's like, well, he's dead. I'm on my own now.
No, hey, Qui-Gon wants Obi-Wan out of the way so he can train Anakin.
You know, you can tell he's like really hard for it, dude. Mm-hmm. They go to the council, and he's like, I will train him, and Obi-Wan's like, dude, what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
you were training me.
That whole scene is just hilarious because Obi-Wan is standing right next to him, and he's like, I will train this boy. It's like, dude, you're my master. I haven't even graduated yet.
And the council's like, you can't do that. You already have a student. Wink, wink. Like, dude, he's right there. What are you doing?
Yeah, and he's like,
no,
he's ready.
He's ready. Get rid of him. It's fine. I want this kid.
It's like, this boy, I want him.
So, do we feel comfortable blaming Yoda by extension for Qui-Gon's shortcomings? Since Qui-Gon was his former Padawan, and since in this movie, Yoda is like
no.
Am I wrong?
Qui-Gon was trained by Count Dooku.
Oh, that's right, and Dooku was Yoda's Padawan. That's the one.
Yes,
I remember now.
So blame Count Dooku.
Well, that's even easier to blame Count Dooku.
Yeah.
But speaking of Yoda, this movie like goes out of its way to really make Yoda out to be a much more like impulsive and emotional character than other movies do.
Wait. Did you see the updated version or the original version?
I don't actually recall. I think I might have seen the updated one then, because he's like kind of a dick in this one.
In the original version, Yoda in episode 1 was like a puppet. And
this one looked more...
In the updated one, and this is the version I saw, Yoda was the CGI version that's seen in episode 2 and episode 3. So I'm just curious which one you saw, because while I was watching the movie, I like looked at the like Yoda scenes. I was like, something feels off about Yoda, and then I looked closely. I'm like, wait a minute, he's all CGI, and I remembered him being the puppet because that was the version that I saw the most.
Because that's how you learned English.
Yeah. So like I was like, wait a minute, he's the Yoda that I saw in episode 2 jumping around against Count Dooku. That's not the Yoda I remember.
Did they change his dialogue between the two versions? Because now I'm not sure which one I watched. I would have to go back and pay more attention.
Well, I don't think they changed his dialogue. I think they just updated all the scenes to include the CGI version instead of the like pretty like static puppet that they used in the
because
original.
Even though you and I watched this movie directly before recording this, I have already forgotten it. I have already done my best to push it out of my mind.
It's a long movie, but it's quite forgettable. You know, just not
it is.
Not a lot of stuff happens.
There are no character development points in the entire thing. Like, I feel like at the end, Qui-Gon, and the beginning, he would have made the same decisions, which means there was no development of his character.
Yeah.
I feel like Obi-Wan would have made the same decisions beginning and end. I feel like Anakin would have done the same things from when we first meet him to the end.
Well, Obi-Wan went backward.
Sheev. Yeah, you're right. He did.
He went from the logical, young Jedi to having the same crazy ideals that Qui-Gon had.
Yeah, he's like, and again, I think that's because of Qui-Gon abandoning him as a teacher so early. Obi-Wan, of course, then had to lean on, like, the only thing he knew, which is what he had been getting taught so far. And he's like, I guess I have to be the weird stoic monk guy now. Mm-hmm. Which is not good.
Not good.
At least if you ask me, I don't think it's good.
Yeah. But yeah, you're right.
No one's character moves at all. They don't. No one develops. No one improves. I think the closest we have to a main character is Obi-Wan, and he's like gone for half the movie.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, you're right. No one really changes.
Who do you think is the main character of this movie?
Main character of this movie.
Because the unfortunate realization I've had is I think it's Jar Jar.
I guess he is in every scene.
He's in every section of the movie. He's always with our intrepid heroes. He's always doing something, either like ancillary to the plot or directly involved in the plot. Which is just awful. Mm-hmm. I think episode 1 is just... What if they changed the cover art of episode 1 to just be Jar Jar's fucking face?
Oh my... It like no one else is in the poster. It's just Jar Jar.
It's just Jar Jar's face. The Phantom Menace. That's who it is. That's who the Phantom Menace is.
No. When they're talking about the Phantom Menace, it's Jar Jar because he's the sleeper agent that causes the entire Clone Wars. It's Jar Jar.
It's literally him. He gives the emergency powers to the Chancellor later. Mm-hmm. So I guess this movie, do we think that during this movie, Jar Jar is aware of his secret mission? Because again, that's a lot of coincidences for him to meet Qui-Gon and meet Anakin and all that. Or do we think that he is converted by Palpatine later?
Well, there's this whole conspiracy theory where Jar Jar, people think Jar Jar was like a Sith Lord the entire time. And then he's plotting the whole thing. And I think at one point people thought that Jar Jar himself was Darth Plagueis. But now... It's amazing. It's been debunked that Darth Plagueis wasn't Jar Jar.
Well, but in my heart, Darth Plagueis will always be Jar Jar Binks.
Yep. But he causes the Clone Wars, and Jar Jar single-handedly hands over the Republic to one.
Yeah. He single-handedly destroys representative democracy.
Yep.
In the entire galaxy.
Yes, and causes the misery of the Galactic Empire.
And murder of hundreds of thousands of people, probably, right? Like millions. Yes. No, actually millions, because they blow up planets. Millions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he should have died, of course.
He should have died. Kill Jar Jar.
We haven't finished our... We never finished our synopsis. We should probably finish that before we end the podcast. We should probably at least finish the movie.
Yeah, Jar Jar should have been decapitated by the troop transport in the beginning.
Yes! Oh, yes, you're right. That would have been perfect. Just some nothing character that gets decapitated. I like that. So after the desert scene and after space politics, we have the dethroning of the great actor whose name I have forgotten, who is given a forgettable role.
What do you mean?
Who is no longer the Chancellor. The bad Chancellor.
Yeah, bad Chancellor.
And then Sheev becomes good Chancellor, even though you can already tell he's like really friggin' weird and everyone's off put by him. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they convince the Gungans to only have their forces fight in a war with like a bunch of droids.
No, okay, so they go to that scene and they're like talking about, we'll recruit the Gungans to fight our war, and just Qui-Gon's the Gungans won't be that easily swayed, and I'm like, yeah, the Gungans hate the Naboo people.
Yeah, they have stated that they hate the Naboo people.
But Padme goes and kneels to Boss Nass, and Boss Nass is like, okay, let's be friends.
No, it's worse than that. Boss Nass, he's taking it back. He's like, wait a minute, you don't think you're cooler than us? Well, in that case, my people are prepared to fight and die for you. Out of nowhere.
We'll be your proxy army.
Yeah, and we'll use our primitive tools and grenades to go fight droids that can walk through our shield.
Yeah.
And then thousands of Gungans die.
Yeah,
and the only reason they even won the battle is because Anakin accidentally blew up a continent-sized battleship that conveniently disables all of the droids.
And that has the main reactor is housed in the hangar bay,
which is definitely safe because there's no accidents in hangars ever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, places where fuel is moved and stored, where large flammable bodies are quite literally flying around.
Right, and
where missiles and ordnance is stored and loaded onto weapons of war for vehicles. Mm-hmm. The main reactor that evidently leads to the center of your battleship, which controls your entire army, that reactor should be housed there.
Yes.
Darth Sidious's plan involves intentionally having very not up to code construction of the Civil War vehicles that are used in his master plan.
Yes.
So after Anakin blows that up and the Gungans accidentally win a war that they cheer for themselves and pat themselves on the back, even though they totally should have lost, we get the only good part of the entire movie, and that is Qui-Gon getting killed by Darth Maul. and then Darth Maul getting killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi. While John Williams' great score is finally used for a fitting purpose. Mm-hmm. And then, after that, the end of the movie is just really needless tying up loose ends, right? They burn Qui-Gon's body. We totally glossed over Anakin not being a slave anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, Qui-Gon won him in like a gamble where he cheated.
Qui-Gon's a cheating gambler who won a cheating gambler's prize. And there you go. That's it.
And brought the single greatest menace into the forefront of galactic history.
Correct, yeah. He directly caused the rise to power and the teaching and training of what would be the most formidable martial opponent to peace and life in the history of the galaxy. Yes. Normal things.
Just Qui-Gon things.
Just Qui-Gon. Let's cap off our synopsis with just Qui-Gon things.
Well,
yes.
We can't forget at the end of it's at the end of the movie, while they are burning Qui-Gon's body, Yoda and Mace Windu I think they're talking about the Sith, and Yoda makes his whole always two there are a master and apprentice, and then Mace Windu remarks oh, but which one did we kill, the master or the apprentice? And then right after that shot is a shot of Palpatine in the forefront, and I'm just like, oh. Is he just showing us that's him? That's the other one,
It's like poetry, Kang. It rhymes.
It rhymes, yeah.
It rhymes. It's like poetry.
Every scene is just so dense.
Yeah, there's so many layers, There's just so much to unpack. It's such a complex political and action-packed narrative filled with emotion and love between a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old. All right, sorry.
Yeah, the entire movie. I was just joking that Anakin was just eye fucking Padme.
Oh, I forgot about this. Jar Jar calls Padme hot, and she's 13.
Yeah, I know. I was ew,
fucking gross Jamaican
Step
frog
off,
man.
Jar Jar
is creeping on 13-year-old girls. I'm gonna throw up.
Step off, Jar Jar. Just go back to your swamp.
So, is there anyone else that you think either should have died or should have lived? I want that poor droid colonel who said Roger, Roger, and then immediately got killed and during the gas scene in the beginning. I want that droid to have lived. He did his duty, and he did not deserve that fate. Mm-hmm. Is there anyone you'd like to cap us off with who should have died or lived?
Who should have died.
Or lived. I mean, you can do either one. I feel like, Droid Boy should have lived there.
Right.
I will now call him Droid Boy forever.
I don't know if you saw this, but there was a scene where Jabba the Hutt flicked a small 2-legged creature off of his balcony. I think he shouldn't have done that, and I think that's cruelty towards animals.
Yeah, it was really needless because all it does is we can already tell when someone looks like Jabba the Hutt that they are an evil bastard. Mm-hmm. We don't need harm to innocent alien small winged creatures.
Yeah.
in our movie.
It was just unnecessary, and I think that should have been removed.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Kang, I think there's always more to say about this wretched hive of scum and villainy, or this wretched film of scum and villainy, but I don't want to anymore.
And as we've said, this movie has been done to death.
Yeah, so, we're already circling the drain on content that's already been repeated a million times, so... Yeah. With nothing further to do, of course, this has been another lovely episode of Beating a Dead Horse. I am, of course, as always, your regular host, Sam Borchardt.
And I am the regular co-host, Kyung-Hyun Kim.
As always, thanks to Lords of the Highway for use of our theme song. It is called Suicide Alternate Take off of the album High Octane, Low Expectations. Also shoutouts to 25yearslatersite.com for continuing to host our constant nonsense. They have a vast wealth of online articles with a focus on cult movies and TV like David Lynch.
And next week we'll be back with an episode about either the Happy Time Murders or Operation Finale. We're not sure which one, but you'll see in our next episode.
And of course, you can find all of our past episodes wherever you find your normal podcast content, including both iTunes and Spotify. And of course, you can find all of our future podcast episodes wherever you get your podcast episodes, like iTunes and Spotify. And so for now, we're signing off. Bye.
Don't you go into the ground. Don't you go